Yesterday, I spoke with President-elect Trump and congratulated him on his victory. And I assured him that I would direct my entire administration to work with his team to ensure a peaceful and orderly transition.
Yes, that's what they always say before they undermine everything and loot the city. Beware. They don't tell the truth. That was Lunch Bucket Joe. Did you see him yesterday? He's never been happier. The guy can't wait. He's got something going on. He's got something up his sleeve. You know he didn't vote for Kamala. He's so happy to see that she lost. It vindicates him. Free at last, free at last. Lunch Bucket Joe is free at last. I fight authority. Authority always win. Happy and Good Friday to you. What a week it's been, huh? For everybody. I've spoken to two men that I know this week who said that they're keeping a close eye on their wives, kind of a suicide watch thing, concerned they might throw themselves off of a rooftop or something like that because, you know, the Democrats, Hitler, they got that whole Hitler thing going. And a funny moment at the White House briefing yesterday with Cringe and Jackie Heinrich of Fox News and an otherwise silent White House press corps. But Jackie Heinrich at Fox News asking Cringe yesterday, Raggedy Ann, how is it that Joe Biden was so cheerful yesterday in the Rose Garden talking about the transition and how he's going to be helpful to move power over to Adolf Hitler, to Hitler, the fascist. They're going to destroy democracy. Democracy is going to be destroyed because this guy won and he's Hitler and he's a fascist. And then Joe Biden couldn't have been, I'm going to help transfer it. It's going to be a smooth transfer of power. So something funny's going on there. And Cringe was not up to the task as usual. And she went stamping her little feet, their little platform shoes out of the White House briefing room. And so I'm just not going to answer your questions. You're mean. You're misrepresenting what I said. No, I'm accurately characterizing exactly what happened, but you guys aren't really truth people, are you? You're not in the truth business at all. Isn't it amazing? Yeah, but Joe Biden appeared in the Rose Garden yesterday, and he's never looked more perky. He must have had a double dose of Prevagen. He had a Prevagen omelet and maybe what do they call a smoothie? He had a Prevagen smoothie, I think, yesterday, because he was really perked up and happy and he's like, I'm going to transfer power to Hitler. You know, the fascists are taking over. Thank God I'm here to arrange for a peaceful transfer. Never mind that Democrat congressman from Maryland. Never mind Democrat congressman from Maryland. Jamie Schmidlack. Yeah, Jamie Raskin, the Lost Marks brother. Never mind that he's out there saying that he and the Democrats are not going to allow, they're going to use the Constitution, which they apparently just discovered in a drawer somewhere, to stop President Trump from taking the presidency again. And then they're going to burn a bunch of stuff because you know how they love burning things. They're big on burning. Amazing stuff. All kinds of things happened yesterday. And the United States Senate, just remarkable things. We've had a development in the United States Senate because yet another Senate seat has been declared, and the Republicans won another one, and the Democrats lost another one. And the Senate is now 53 Republican seats to 45 Democrat seats, only 45 Democrat seats. Isn't that amazing? And 53 Republican seats. I think Trump's going to have to get some Supreme Court nominations. I think, Jake LaMotta is going to have to step down from the Supreme Court just in time. She should leave now, actually, just to get things going. It'd be more fun that way. And some lefties and some other people are saying, and Clarence Thomas is going to retire and President Trump's going to replace him. Clarence Thomas is not going to retire. Clarence Thomas is happy with his wonderful job. And it should be noted that Clarence Thomas's mother is 95 years old, and she's enjoying breakfast right now because she's loving life. And, he's not going anywhere because he knows he's going to live to be 105, and everything's great, and he loves his job because it's the greatest job in the world. Isn't it? Being Supreme Court Justice, I think, would be the greatest job in the world. That's of all the government jobs I would like. I think Supreme Court Justice would be the very best job. I wouldn't want to be president, I don't think. But senator might not be too bad. But Supreme Court Justice is really the best job in the United States government. And Clarence Thomas, I think he's, 76 years old. And so his mother is 95. That's 19 years older than him. And Clarence Thomas is good to go for another couple of decades. You don't worry about him at all. That's great. So we got that going on. All kinds of crazy. And what is President Trump going to do? Filling out the cabinet. He has chosen his chief of staff, Susie, a.k.a. Susan Wiles. And her maiden name is Summerall because her father was a famous NFL player and a sports broadcaster, CBS and beyond, Pat Summerall. And the daughter of Pat Summerall is Susan Summerall, a.k.a. Susie Summerall. And her now married name is Wiles. And I got to tell you, she's got a great face. She looks like somebody that shows up for game day, and that's her reputation. Great reputation. And, all the lunatic, mentally ill Democrats, and they are everywhere, they're saying, Trump, what we played who was it, Jimmy Kimmel last night. Oh, no, he's crying on his TV show. They pay him $15 million a year to cry like a little girl, a confused, gender dysphoric little girl. And he's crying, this is the worst thing for women and for children. I'm sorry, abort another million. And send another plane to go to Epstein Island with Bill Clinton on it and Anthony Weiner. And then get back to me about your history with women in the Democrat Party. Please, are you kidding me? Remarkable stuff. But he's crying and saying, oh, no, now this is the first woman to be White House chief of staff, one of the most powerful positions in Washington, D.C. And without fanfare, no big press conference, and I picked the first woman. Look, her genitalia is different than yours. And that's, I don't know where these people come from. I don't know where they've been for the last half century. But here in America, this stuff has become the norm. And they're just I don't want to use the word that I'm thinking, so I'll move on. Amazing stuff. So Susan, a.k.a. Susie, Summerall Wiles, White House chief of staff, first ever, and it's kind of surprising, actually, first ever woman chief of staff, not by a Democrat, not by Barack Obama, not by Joe Biden, who would pin her against the wall and grope her and ask her if she wanted to shower with him along with his daughter. He's a weird guy, very weird guy, very strange. I got to tell. Oh, and did you see the Nazis are on the rise in Amsterdam, the home of Anne Frankhouse? I like to call it Anne Frankhouse. Anne Frankhouse in Amsterdam. And they've got, I don't know if they're Islamists or leftists, attacking the Jews and beating them and nearly killing lots of Jews in Amsterdam. Mob violence against the Jews in Amsterdam, mob street violence. There was a soccer game involving the Israeli team or an Israeli team, and a violent mob of either Muslims from the Middle East who have been flooding into Amsterdam and other Western European cities with an eye toward conquering and destroying Western Europe, which is, not new in the discussion. So this violence against the Jewish people in Amsterdam, Holland last night after a soccer game, throwing a Jewish man, a young man, into one of the canals and screaming, "You will say free Palestine, or we will send you to the camps." I'm embellishing only slightly. Pretty much like that, throwing a young man down on the train tracks with the third rail, throwing a young man in the canal and demanding that he yell "Free Palestine," or they would presumably kill him because, there's a war in the world right now. And we're being led by a bunch of, I'll try to be polite and say, wussies, spineless, weak, flailing, failing people who have no business being in charge of anything. But isn't that amazing? So we've got all kinds of stuff going on. We still don't know who's going to control the House of Representatives. We may find out as soon as today. Fox News, for example, has said they've shut down their decision desk. So they're not even counting votes anymore. They're not even counting the races in the House of Representatives. But the Associated Press is, and there is a rumor that the House of Representatives, whether it stays in Republican hands or goes to radical left-wing, Jew-hating, Nazi-fascist Democrat hands. Isn't that the rhetoric that we've adopted for political discourse in America? That may be resolved today, may even be resolved while we're on the air here today, although maybe not. And otherwise, over the weekend, we should find out at the latest whether the Republicans hold on to the House of Representatives. The Democrats are, of course, clawing their way. They're, that by any means necessary, by hook or by crook, by hammer and sickle, they will scrounge every vote, whether it's legitimate or not, from any illegal alien from China. They'll count it. They're fine with that, as long as it's for them, of course. Remarkable stuff. Yeah, so we've got a lot going on, as usual, I've got to say. And a funny headline here from, who's this? The Economic Times. Trump lawyer issues bold threat, quote, "We will put your fat ass in prison," warns the New York Attorney General Letitia James, who is waging a third world banana republic communist Soviet-style attack, abusing her power instantly like the criminal that she is. Letitia James, I'm going after Trump. I don't think you understand what the job of Attorney General of the state of New York is, but as long as you're going to be a political fascist, maybe everybody should start playing hardball, just like you. What do you think, hun? And I haven't actually witnessed her buttocks, but I'll go ahead and take his word for it. Remarkable stuff. And companies get ready for price hikes to offset Trump's global tariff plans. His plans. We'll see what happens because, the mere threat of imposing tariffs is a means of negotiating for Donald Trump. And we'll see about all that because prices won't go up, prices will go down. Energy prices will go down. And when energy prices go down, that's going to make it really hard for Putin to continue to wage war against Ukraine. Oh, by the way, and this was happening while we were on the air yesterday, too. Suddenly, there's all kinds of talk all over the place about ending the war between Russia and Ukraine. And that wasn't on the table on Monday, but after Tuesday night and Trump wins, now suddenly there's all kinds of talk about ending the war. What do we have, a million dead yet there? But we're talking about ending the war there. And Hamas coming up and saying, hey, now that Trump has won, maybe it's time to start talking about ending the war here. Because, they said Trump was Hitler. He's Hitler the peacemaker, apparently. The guy who got 3 peace deals while he was president for 4 years between Israel and 3 different Arab nations was on the brink of getting a peace deal between Israel and Saudi Arabia, which would have changed the region forever. And Joe Biden didn't pick up he didn't take the baton, pick up the torch. They love torching things. They really do. Another torchlight ceremony. So peace is breaking out all over, which is kind of wacky, isn't it? Just crazy. And Tim Walz, schmuck that he is, he's headed back to to Minnesota. He's headed back to Minnesota where he's still the governor there. And he lost, Donald Trump won Tim Walz's home county in Minnesota. It's where Tim Walz, the dim-witted Democrat, you see the funny video that Team Trump put together, the Trump War Room put together a funny video with Tim Walz being a spaz all over the place, spazzing up and downstairs, spazzing out on the stage, flailing his hands and his arms all over the place. And they've got ABBA playing Dancing Queen. The Dancing Queen, I tell you, that Dancing Queen song applies in so many different situations, doesn't it? But Tim Walz flailing all about like a spaz, and funny video by him. Now, Tim Walz loses home county of Blue Earth in Minnesota to Donald Trump. The New York Post has the story. Isn't that great? And Donald Trump wins Minnesota County, where Tim Walz launched his political career. Isn't that great? And how many electoral votes does Donald Trump have now exactly? And we're still not quite done. Are we still not? I think we're still not quite done yet. And what did I predict? What did I predict would happen, and where did we end up? Got that coming up. And bop, bop, bop. Here's a great headline from the left-wing Daily Beast. Joe Biden's vengeance, Democrats descend into civil war. Well, they gave us our last civil war. There are lots of Civil War headlines, and they're all Democrat publications. Civil War headlines, I'm telling you. And Massachusetts Democrat speaks out against men in women's sports. Hey, that's going to be dangerous for him and the Democrat Party. And the Nazis rising in Amsterdam. Where do you hear this stuff? We got all kinds of amazing things. And only 3 hours to get to it. We are at 888-630-9625. All right, a great deal of fun stuff to get to today. Let's go to the telephones right now. Let's go to Bryce, calling from Warrenton, Virginia. Bryce Mobile, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Oh, hello, Chris. I'm going to try to. This is the only place I think I can get this information. I can't Google it on an internet. I don't see it on TV, including Fox News.
Uh-huh.
And that is this. All right, you have some people, it's ingrained in them to vote Democrat or Republican. It's come from them maybe when they're a baby or they're 1 year old. Democrats are always so much better, Republicans are so much better. I'm trying to find out these celebrities, and you sort of hit on this to some degree. These people that are stern Democrats like Taylor Swift and some of these others, I've kind of heard the story on her, but I don't think it's just movies. I think it's music too. Isn't there a motive other than I think I can make America better for them being so diehard Democrat, so many of them?
Well, they made it trendy a long time ago. John F. Kennedy, you could even go back that far, and probably even FDR during World War II, making it trendy, making it fashionable. And lefties always have a big political agenda, right? They've always got a political agenda. It's usually a radical political agenda. And they, then there's the sexual thing, because there's always sex involved, right? The Kennedys and Marilyn Monroe, and the list goes on and on from there. But the Democrats, and they've been able over time, and the Hollywood people, and that goes to the music people. It extends to the music people as well. They've made it trendy to, they used to say that, and they may still say it, Washington is Hollywood for ugly people, and Hollywood is Washington for dumb people. And there's a certain amount of truth to that. They're all on TV, right? And our entire political system has essentially become a terrible cable television show, kind of a reality show, but detached from reality in so many ways. And the Democrats have recruited famous people for a long, long time to stand next to them on stage. Frank Sinatra was involved with the Kennedys, and then they blew him off. Frank Sinatra would hang out with Ronald Reagan. Of course, Ronald Reagan had a Hollywood background, so that's a little different. Jimmy Stewart and all kinds of things. But there's more, Bryce, coming up. The resistance is on the left. There are a bunch of radicals like the jihadis in Amsterdam. Oh, speaking of the jihadis in Amsterdam, jihadis in Chicago masked jihadis attacked 2 Jewish students in Chicago day before yesterday. And now the Chicago police have put out photographs of the jihadis. They attacked them near DePaul University in Chicago, violently attacking the Jews for being Jews because, the Democrat Party encourages this sort of thing. If you're Jewish and you voted for the Democrats on Tuesday, I'd like to hear you explain yourself, because I got to tell you, you're playing violin at the gates of Auschwitz at this point. You're really not on your own side. Masked attackers who attacked Jewish students near Chicago's DePaul University, seen in new photos. Anti-Semitic remarks were spewed at the victims before at least one of them was physically attacked. And again, this goes perfectly in Chicago with what happened in Amsterdam last night in Holland along the beautiful canals. Michael Piercy is sitting across from me here. We were together in Amsterdam over the summer. Michael Piercy and I were. That's where we launched our annual Chris Plant Sea Cruise from this summer. And Amsterdam, beautiful, wonderful. The canals. We stopped at cafes along the canals and had nice cold beers and tasty food treats. We were not attacked by jihadis ourselves, but Western civilization is under assault. It's under attack. The Enlightenment is under attack in Western Europe and in the United States. Between the jihadis and the left, and make no mistake, today's Democratic Party is undemocratic, anti-democratic. Today's Democrats aren't, and honestly, the Democratic Party isn't. And they're anti-Semites, they're racists, they're dividers, they're violent. Honestly, just crazy. So we've got that happening in Chicago and in Amsterdam, pretty much same time, and it's the Democrats and the jihadis together again. I'm going to have more for you on that, and the crazy Democrats launching their resistance movement. They're resistant. It causes a lot of friction, resistance, and their movement. But they're planning, they're plotting, they're in the scheming stage right now, and they're a threat to our democracy because they're fascists and they're Hitler. They're all Hitler. Isn't Joe Biden like a frail, feckless, hapless Hitler with intellectual degeneration? That's remarkable stuff. I tell you what, I also want to mention that we had a nice visit yesterday from the great people that put on the annual Danish Festival. They've got an annual Danish, it's a bazaar, Christmas bazaar, and the Danish Club of Washington, D.C. They work with the Danish Embassy and stuff. Their 61st annual Danish Christmas bazaar is tomorrow, and I've got to say, my best girl and I, we're going to try to go by for a while, eat some tasty food and stuff at St. Elizabeth Church on Montrose Road in Rockville, Maryland. And it's tomorrow, and they got all kinds of great stuff. It's Christmassy. It's the first Christmas thing that I'm looking at going to. It's sponsored by the Royal Danish Embassy. They still have a royal family there in Denmark and all that good stuff. It's a wonderful place. Been there several times with my best girl. Wonderful country, great people. But the 61st annual Danish Christmas Bazaar, we're going to try to go by. And I got to tell you, the nice people with the Danish Club of Washington, they came by the radio station yesterday, and they dropped off some delicious Danishes for you. And I've got to say that Jasmine, producer Jasmine, on phones today, you'll talk to her if you call in, she brought some Danishes home. She came in, first thing she said today is, so good, so tasty. So great stuff. And also, they what they do every year, the Danish Club of Washington, this is one of the reasons we love them, is they dropped off a big check for Fisher House, for our friends at Fisher House. And every year, the Danish Club of Washington, because they're patriotic Americans, great Americans, a lot of immigrants to America, and they're patriotic Americans. They didn't sneak in across the southern border with drugs and, child sex trade. No, they're normal people. And so we're looking at going by there, my best girl and I. Hopefully we'll be able to get by there. St. Elizabeth's Church on Montrose in Rockville tomorrow. And Fisher House, big sponsors of Fisher House every year. Just wonderful people. And so we love them at the Danish Club of Washington and their annual Christmas Bazaar. So let me get back to the crazies because they are on the loose, boy. Shall we go to soundbite number 1 and start going to the crazy people because they are everywhere. Just let me tell you. Joyless Reed is an insane wasn't she the one who had all the homophobic tweets and social media stuff, the anti-gay stuff? And then she claimed that none of it was her and somebody hacked her and put all those nasty things on her voice. And she's an anti-Semite and a racist. She hates the white people. And she's not a good person. But she's a 7-figure-a-year anchor woman at MSNBC, which is an NBC station. They should all have their press credentials canceled because they're not journalists at all. They shouldn't be considered news organizations. And then maybe take away their FCC license so they can't broadcast. What do you think? Why not? There's all their stations around the country using the airwaves and to propagandize and to lie, to perpetrate fraud, to spread division, balkanization, racism, anti-Semitism. And here are the results. President Trump, a head grazed by a bullet coming from a sniper's rifle on a rooftop at a public rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. Another one in the fence line in the bushes, the shrubberies in West Palm Beach, Florida, one of his golf courses. Just crazy. Now, the thing is, there's this great stuff that President Trump did enormously well with Latinos and Latin American men, Latin American women. Amazing stuff. In fact, President Trump, NBC fake news, looking at men. They like to slice and dice in as many ways as possible. So they just looked at men and Latino men on Tuesday. 55% of Latino men in America voted for Donald Trump. Only 43% voted for Kamala Harris. And this has the Democrats very upset. And that means the media, too. Right? President Trump won 60% of the white men vote, and Kamala only got 37%. And that has the Democrats very upset, too. President Trump got 21% of black men, which is much higher than historically Republicans would get, because black men are waking up to the big lie that is the Democrat Party and the corrupt, filthy, rotten news media. But 55% of Latino men voted for Donald Trump and only 43% for Kamala Harris. And that's got the Democrats. And Joyless Reed, as she's known, very upset. And she's a racist, nothing if not a racist. So amazing stuff. So she, last night on her TV show that they pay millions for at NBC, made up this stuff.
The Latino men who, despite the utter disrespect shown by Trump and his promise to deport some of your mixed status families.
Mixed class.
Most of them voted in a 55% majority to make the deportations happen. You own everything that happens to your mixed status families and to your wives, sisters, and abuelas from here on in.
And your abuelas. She is a horrible, filthy racist, but she's not alone. Maybe she's talking about the joke that some guy that nobody knows told at the Madison Square Garden rally hours before Trump got there about he made reference to an actual real garbage crisis ongoing for years now on the island of Puerto Rico. And instead of saying, hey, why is there this huge garbage problem and toxic waste problem in Puerto Rico and how do we fix it, they just use it to racially polarize the country because they're the party of the KKK. Just saying. So isn't that amazing? And you're mixed class, and he's going to deport your family. Well, if they're here illegally, then, that's illegally. See, that's the thing. It's kind of like they love to say, oh, he hates immigrants. Nobody's got an issue with illegal immigrants. That's like saying the Republican Party hates drivers. No, maybe drunk drivers are a problem, but, they just lose the key word, illegal. Alien, all right, illegal immigrant. They just lose that and say, you hate immigrants. No, but you're pretty annoying, aren't you? Amazing stuff. Then we go to The View. They have a woman there named Alyssa Farah Griffin. Alyssa Farah Griffin. I say Farah, it might be Farah, but I say Farah. And Alyssa Farah Griffin, and she's one of the cast members on the TV show Propaganda for the Democrat Party is Everywhere, ABC Network. That was NBC Network with the racist Joy Reid. Now, Alyssa Farah Griffin on The View, and she pointed out to the idiots sitting at the table with The View that a county, Starr County in Texas, South Texas, along the border with Mexico, is 97% Latino. The county, Starr County, 97% Latino. That's almost entirely Latino for Democrats trying to follow along. And voted 75% for Donald Trump. And when Alyssa Farah Griffin pointed this out to the idiots, and they are certifiable idiots, I think it's Hoda. Who's sitting next to Alyssa Farah Griffin, who says the only explanation for this. Now, I mean, keep in mind that half the people that voted in this county are women, maybe more than half, right? And they voted 75% voted for Trump. But they immediately revert to racist attacks and false indignation, right? It's misogyny, it's sexism. So, this Hoda woman is yelling misogyny, and Whoopi, whose real name is Karen Johnson, starts yelling sexism.
Latinos in Texas, a district that's 97% Latino, went 75 percentage points for Donald Trump. Why?
Misogyny.
It's on the border. The border crisis is on their doorstep. And they were begging people to care about it for years. We need to take some lessons.
That's what that was.
That's what that was. And they're also arrogant and smug and self-righteous and dumb and wrong. which is a potent combination when you're given a national television show with which to spread your mental disease, is 97% Latino, voted 75% Trump. That's not all men. See, that can't be all men. They don't understand statistics. They don't understand math. They don't understand elections. They're dumb and they're racists. And now they're indicting all Latino men. They're saying, oh, they're just misogynists. This macho Latin culture. And of course, they couldn't vote for a woman because they're sexist and misogynist. And that's their only answer. Jim Acosta's real name is Abilio, but he's ashamed of his Cuban-American heritage, and he's on CNN.
A lot of folks are wondering, why would Latinos vote for Donald Trump if that means he might deport Abuela? He might deport members of their household.
Abuelas, got an abuela in every pot. I got to tell you, these people might wonder, maybe because they don't want to be victims of crime, maybe because they don't want Venezuelan gangs terrorizing their children at school, terrorizing them at home, invading their home, as is going on from Michigan to New York to Massachusetts. Maybe they don't want more than 100,000 fatal drug overdoses in the United States every year because of the drugs coming in across our southern border. Maybe they're more aware of what's going on than you are, Abilio Acosta. That could be part of it. Maybe they want low interest rates so they can buy homes or their kids can buy homes. Maybe they want to put an end to war in Europe and put an end to war in the Middle East. Maybe they don't want open borders. Maybe they don't want the fundamental transformation of America. Maybe they like the United States of America, even though you don't. Then they go to the man with one Soviet name and one Latino name, Boris Sanchez.
Donald Trump has a unique appeal to Latino voters. Most Latino voters are working class folks. And despite his crude sense of humor, despite the jokes that he makes, despite the exaggerations about his wealth and his exploits, for folks that are from where I'm from and folks that I've grown up around, that resonates.
Wow, imagine that. And really, they don't care about mean tweets?
Not just a strongman, but a figure that has succeeded in capitalism, that has wealth that he flaunts, versus the conversation that they hear often from Democrats about Latinx or Latinx. I don't know how to say
Latinx.
it. No one
I don't know how to say
it. Knows how to say that word. They don't use it.
Maybe Joe Biden calling them Latinx didn't go over real big, and the Democrats are such racists, and they're so divisive and polarizing and tearing the country apart along lines of race and ethnicity.
Latinx.
Maybe, people with common sense who work hard, who go to church on Sunday, who have wives and children and homes, and, maybe they want the American dream. But at CNN, this is an alien concept to them. They cannot understand why anyone who is Latinx, and I've got to say, I started the Latinx thing way back then because they're such ridiculous people, just amazing. And then Chunk Todd, he weighed in. He's a former Democrat Hill staffer. He's a Democrat campaign staffer, and he's not a very bright one.
Look, Hispanic voters are swing voters, and I think, what's interesting here is the Republican Party treated them the same way they treated white working class voters. They courted them the same way they treated white working class voters. The Democratic Party has spent a lot of time treating it as an identity group. Whether it's Latinx, which sort of fell flat.
Latinx.
And so there's been a lot of hand-wringing about this inside Democratic circles. It was a total misread sort of by the coastal strategists when it comes to how to target working class voters of color.
Left-wing woo-woos who racially and ethnically balkanize the country, pit groups against one another, which is what the left does all over the world. And then they start filling mass graves like in Cambodia and China and Russia and Cuba. Venezuela, they just stole everything you had, and now everybody's fleeing the country to get the hell out of there. And they come here and form their gangs, invade your kids' schools. And the Democrats are like, what? You don't like that? You're a racist. And what are they? They've shifted their crazy rhetoric now. Have you seen the shift? Moving away from Hitler, fascists, and Nazis, and now they're doing, you hate women, you hate children, you hate, they're just these, don't ever vote for these people for anything, ever.
Latinx or Latinx. I don't know how to say it. No one where I'm from knows how to say that word. They don't use it.
Latinx.
I'm looking at the big board here, and we got everybody's upbeat this week. Everybody's very happy this week. A lot of fun. Now, we still haven't buttoned down the House of Representatives, but stand by for news on that. And before we get to a whole lot more of Joe Biden's brain and the Supreme Court and all kinds and attacking the Jews, jihadis and the Democrats. Let's go to the telephones first, though. Let's go to Brian calling from Front Royal, Virginia. Brian, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for taking my call. So, President Trump is now starting to fill out the key positions in the administration. Congratulations to Susie, the first woman chief of staff. That's historic. We got that going for us. But all the while, AOC is over there complaining about the fascist, racist black men and black Latinos that voted for Trump. But she's going to protect the working class. I think that Donald Trump should extend. This is a friend of mine at church. She said, Donald Trump should extend an olive branch to AOC. He should offer her a position in his administration. She can be the bartender at the inaugural ball. How about that?
The bartender at the inaugural ball. She of course is well known as a bartender at one bar somewhere in New York City. She could at least hand out napkins. I bet she doesn't make a very good drink. I'm looking at her and I'm thinking, can I just step back there? I'll make my own vodka martini, okay? Because I don't think...
No tax on tips, though. So, she's got that going for her.
That's true. That's a good point. No tax. There would be no tax on tips for her. I don't know if we can get that through by Inauguration Day, but maybe we could make it retroactive for her. I like your bipartisan spirit. It's good It's good because in victory we must also be humble. That's an American tradition as well in all things, in sports and in politics. And in victory we should be humble and generous and make AOC the bartender.